Hello, family. This is Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, here again on another episode of Experts Interview. Today, I have an awesome guest for you guys. I have Miss Connie Benjamin, and I'm going to tell you, actually, I'm going to let her talk to you a lot about everything that she does and how she shows up in the world. But I was talking to her last week, and she had some amazing things to share, and I thought this would be the perfect guest to have on our show. So without further ado, Connie, welcome to the show, and I appreciate you being here. Take it away.
Oh my goodness, Dr. L, I am so excited to be here. I'm so grateful to know you and to be part of this conversation. So I know you had asked a little bit about my story. Do you want me to just share my crazy story?
Absolutely. I loved it. I was fascinated by it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, strap in. It is a crazy story. And really, Dr. L, it started with shattered glass. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I got there and what happened. I was working and I loved what I did. I loved helping people. But my heart was with my little girl. I wanted to be home with my little girl. And so I remember getting in the car every day, driving to my office and crying, quite honestly, crying most of the way there. And then I'd pull myself together and pretend like I wasn't just crying the entire way to work and go about my day. And on top of that, we were actually living in an area of town that was unsafe for our family. And so I knew we had to move, but I didn't know how I was going to make money. We didn't have enough money to move at all. And so I realized I had to start a business. But Dr. L, I knew nothing about business at all. And so I began to start to learn, go to trainings, that sort of thing. And eventually I got some success and I even got enough money to move. And I still remember the day walking into our home, our new home, and I opened the door and my little girl went skipping across the kitchen floor and out into the backyard. And there were these big trees and she was like running and skipping around the trees. And I just felt like I did it. I won. And what I didn't realize, Dr. L, is although I was getting some, success in that area, I was about to lose what mattered most to me because I had been so busy hustling in my business that my relationship was a mess. I was like roommates with my husband. We were so disconnected. I was frustrated as a mom. I was feeling overwhelmed and frustrated and not parenting the way I wanted to. My health was deteriorating. I wasn't taking care of myself. And everything came to a head one day when I was in my office and I was late for an interview and I had a million things on my to-do list. And I don't know if you've ever, you're really calm. So I don't know if you've ever had this experience of feeling so stressed out you can't think clearly, but
No,
that's
I never experienced that. Never.
never experienced. Well, that's where I was at, Dr. Al. I was so stressed out. I was late for this interview. My daughter was throwing a temper tantrum outside of my office. And I had a fight with my husband and a million things on my to-do list. And I was stressed out. And in a moment of complete disorganized stress, I picked up a glass and I threw it at the wall. And I still remember standing there with pieces of shattered glass all around me. And in that moment, I realized that's how I felt. I felt broken and unwhole and shattered. And so at that moment, Dr. L, I committed to doing whatever it took to change. And I remember saying to myself, Connie, you have to change. What are you going to do to change? And so that sent me on a quest to figure it out. How do I build a business and not lose my family? What does that look like? Luckily, I found a mentor that taught me about FIRE principles and helped me to understand how I could do that. And in the process, I fell in love with my husband. And I can honestly say we are more in love today than the day we got married. And we were ridiculously in love then. So it is great. And I'm connected with my kids. And although my life's not perfect, it's getting better and better every single day. And I love that I can build my business and be connected with what matters most. And so, after sharing my story from stage for the last decade or so with my husband, I realized my story wasn't actually very unique. There's many people that could relate to it, although for them, maybe it wasn't of shattered glass. It was a moment of overwhelm or a moment of frustration, but people could relate to that. And so I began a quest to find those entrepreneurs that were looking for how to share their message without losing their family or themselves. And so that's why I wrote my book, Women with Fire. I started my podcast, and that's why I do the work that I do, to support people. And how do you grow your business in a way that you don't lose what matters most?
Anya, I love the journey that you just described, and thanks for sharing that. And I also love the fact that you described it as a journey, but not a destination, because that gives people hope that every day they can work and become a little bit better, work, move a little bit closer to their goals, and that's a very important mindset for people to have. To know that you're not going to go from where you are today to an end destination, but every single day you can continue on your journey and make it better and show up better in life as you want to be in sync basically with your mission in life. So definitely thank you. So what do you find it to be so important about this topic, of basically having that fire? Like, for instance, a lot of times some of our audience know, I tend to gravitate towards water a lot. Water is my element. And you're talking about fire. So tell me about fire.
I love that. I love that there's fire and water. That's amazing. Um, I'm passionate about fire because when I talk about fire, I'm talking about that fire within, like that burning in your heart that just won't go away. And after talking to many people, people describe it differently, but often it'll come up like this: Connie, I've always wanted to write a book, but I just never did it. But I just can't stop thinking about it. Or
Mm,
Connie, I want to be connected with my partner, my husband, or my wife, but I'm so stressed out. I don't even know where to start. We've been to therapy, nothing's working, but I just can't stop thinking about it. I want to be even more the mom that I want to be and connect with my kids, but I'm so lost in the mom guilt and the frustration that I just can't stop thinking about it. It's that fire in our hearts that's driving us to step into our purpose. And I believe our purpose is a connection of the calling we've been asked to do in this world to serve others, and the calling we've been asked to do in this world to serve our families. And I think quite often that conversation, I'm grateful for the conversations you have, Dr. Al, because everything starts with the family. And honestly, I think in the world today, a lot of that is being left out. And so I think that we need to understand that when we step into that part of ourself, that fire within, it really is like it lights up our relationship, it lights up our family, it lights up the connections that we make in our business, and allows us to share our message more powerfully. It's contagious, but in a great way.
I always think that if you can't share your message with your family, if you can't be heard by your family, what chance do you have outside of the family? So it's very important for those loved ones to actually hear you and for you to be able to share who you are, your true self with the family. So definitely, thank you. So what are the typical challenges that you tend to find people struggle with as they come to see you or as you see them out in the world, basically? What are the typical challenges?
Often when people come to see me, that is such a good question, Dr. Al. So often people will come to see me, or my husband Andy, because we do work together, is that they're feeling disconnected from their partner, feeling like their partner just doesn't get it, feeling alone. They're entrepreneurs that have a purpose-driven message, and there's that disconnect with their partner. So that's causing stress in their business and their relationship. And often people don't admit that our relationship impacts our business, but it does. So that's one thing. The other thing that's going on is they're feeling like that thing that they feel inspired to do is losing that light. So they're feeling overwhelmed in their business, that inspiration, that fire that they had to, I got to write the book, or I got to start the program, or whatever it is. It's losing its luster. They feel kind of stressed out, overwhelmed. They're forgetting why they're doing it. And then the last piece, which is so important for the amazing people listening today, yes, you, is when we have kids, it's that feeling of guilt that we're not connecting with our kids, guilt that how do we do this? How do we build a business and connect with our kids? And quite honestly, with COVID, it adds at a whole new level to all of these things. So all the things that were already going on in the family in terms of, stress and overwhelm and disconnection with a partner and feeling guilty as a parent is being massively exacerbated by what's happening in the world today.
Absolutely. That overwhelm is huge because a lot of times, especially with moms, which are our primary audience right now, they're wearing many different hats, and it becomes difficult. You got the career and the mom and the spouse, and it becomes really, really difficult to go ahead and do that.
Absolutely. Can I ever relate to that? And my heart goes out to every single mom, you listening today, because it's an amazing, amazing journey. And it can be challenging to juggle all of the things.
Absolutely. So what are the typical tips, or not typical, I guess, because if it was typical, everybody would be doing it. But what are your tips for the audience on how to deal with overwhelm or guilt and the relationship and all of those things that goes into making you whole?
Yeah, that is such a good question, Dr. Al. So one of the things that oftentimes, and before I'll dive into it and I will share as much as I can, but one of the things that I notice is that often in the world today, we're being told balance. We need to have balance. How do we have more balance? The conversation is all about balance. Balance is a myth. Like it does. I just think my husband and I often talk about that. Think about when we just have a baby. What kind of balance is there in that? You're up all night, you're feeding that sweet little baby. Like balance is a myth. So I believe that when we're really looking for harmony, we're looking for to be lit up. And when we can find that harmony, we find what works for us. And so to answer your question, one of the things that is really, really effective is oftentimes when people, when you are feeling like overwhelmed and that sort of thing, which I can relate to, we think that we've got a husband just won't listen problem, a kids are just not listening problem, my boss is a jerk problem, everyone else is seeking to annoy me problem. We think it's everyone else out there, when in reality, when we just make a shift with our priorities, it changes everything. And so as women, especially as moms, oftentimes what we do, Dr. L, is I believe that we have a default way of prioritizing. And I'm going to go through this really quick. So now this is just how it tends to go. It doesn't always go like this, but it tends to, where we put our kids first, then our business or everyone else, the extended family, even the dog sometimes, everyone else, then our partner, and then ourselves. And if you can imagine the weight of that, we feel stressed out, burnt out, overwhelmed, frustrated, and the world is driving us crazy. And I can relate to that. So what we can do is when we shift that and we shift our priorities and we step into it in a way that is happy, healthy, and productive, we use something called fire priorities. And this is something that's in my book, Women with Fire, but I'm going to share as much as I can today. So
I'll
this
make
is
sure that we put the link there for people if you want to get a hold of
sounds
it. Yeah, definitely.
sounds great. So fire priorities is really an acronym because I believe we learn well through acronyms. The F stands for first creator. And what that means is having that connection with the divine first. The I stands for inspired self-care. And Dr. L, I use that very intentionally, that wording. I'm talking inspired self-care, not the kind where we've got the cucumber things on our eyeballs. I really don't know anybody that does that. I'm talking about what fills our soul, what strengthens you as a mom. Like, what does that? Yoga, meditation, even for 2 minutes. Like, what is it? Now, the R stands for relationship with our partner. We need to put that next. And then the last part is E, engaged kids. And I use that wording intentionally. Be present, engage with our kids. If we can do that, even just for moments, it makes a huge difference because people, as my mentor once said, people remember moments, not days. It's important as moms for us and parents for us to remember that. And if it's all right, I'd love to share a quick story about how this plays out, because oftentimes I tell this to people and they look at me like, are you crazy, Connie Benjamin? Like I need one more thing to do. Like you take your advice and just keep it trucking. And I can relate. I felt like that too. but we need to understand that it really doesn't take that long. I'm talking about just moments, right? So there, can I share a quick story?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. This is fascinating.
Okay, so I was working and I was finishing my book and I was stressed out because Dr. L, I did not consider myself an author and I was writing my book. And here we go. I was quite stressed. And I had a deadline and my little girl comes into my office and she's pulling at my arm, Mom, Mom. And I'm like, just give me a minute, sweetie. I love you so much. Give me a minute. And she just kept, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I remembered this lesson. I remembered fire priorities. And so I shut my laptop. And I lifted up my hands into monster hands and I started chasing her around the house. And my little girl goes running down the corner of our house. And all of a sudden, her little sister sees her and she doesn't know what's going on, but she wants to be part of the fun. So she starts squealing and pretty soon I'm chasing them both. They both go flying under their bed and I'm tickling them under their bed. I had their hearts in that moment. All it took was a moment. And how much more, was their tank full and how much more productive could I be in my business? 100%. It doesn't take long. Fire priorities ignite us and our relationships.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in that moment when you're ignited, you don't feel exhausted because you're coming from a place of energy and you feel like you can always do more. And when you do more, because it's in line with the priorities, it continues to give you more energy. So definitely, definitely. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that story as well. Awesome. Wow, I'm speechless. So tell me, how can people find out more about you?
Oh my goodness. I love connecting to amazing people. So absolutely you can reach out to me over Connie at myfirewithin.com. You can check me out on social media and learn more there as well. And I do have a free gift if that's all right that I share with your amazing listeners today.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Definitely.
You're
What?
welcome. I love mompreneurs and I love parents. So I want to, we need all the help we can get. I know I do. And so when all of this chaos hit in the world, I actually brought together top world leaders and interviewed them and said, what would you do if you were parenting and building a business? What would you do? And so I got all of their best advice. I put it in Mompreneur Empowered online event and it's completely free. So all of your listeners could go and get a free ticket to that event. You just
Cool.
go to www.myfirewithin.com/mompreneur and get your free ticket.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, in fire, is for engaged. So go ahead and get engaged and go ahead and get that free ticket. So definitely. I
Love
was
that.
listening.
You were listening.
So that's very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Connie, for being with us. Is there any final words, anything else you want to share with us today?
I just would love to say that I know you mentioned you have a lot of women listening and that have kids. And I just want you to know that you have an amazing gift to give to this world and to your children and a purpose that's bigger than you can possibly imagine. And being a mom is the biggest job and the most incredible job you could do in this entire world. So give yourself a break, stop beating yourself up, step into who you're meant to be, one step at a time, and you are enough.
Right. I love that. As moms, you're the first teachers for the next generation and the most important ones. If you take care of yourself and the principles that you mentioned with fire, and you practice those, then guess what? Just by the fact that you're practicing those, your kids will see that, they will internalize it, and they in turn will be able to do that naturally without ever having to be taught or preached to, or have to hit walls before they realize something is wrong. So not only is it good for you, but you almost owe it to the next generation to do that. So I applaud all the moms for everything that they do. They're truly superheroes. And I really, really thank and appreciate you for all the work that you do, Connie. And your message is beautiful. And I hope to see you in our future episodes as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Al. It's been amazing to be here.
All right, audience, we appreciate you for being with us today and sharing this journey with us. And we look forward to seeing you on future episodes. Take care. Ciao.